And here we are. We got another Chatcast coming at you, coming in hot, ready to talk about more of what makes us tick, more of what we've experienced as artists. Kyle, This is our fifth one.
Ooh.
The question that I have for us on this one is, what teacher or mentor really stuck out in your life and helped you? So again, I'll start this off because I have several people to mention. My very first guitar teacher was a guy named Doug, and I'm not going to give out last names. I mean, you can if you want, I'm not going to. But anyways, Doug, and he kind of, showed me how to do some basic stuff, and he was the guy that helped me play that Alice in Chains song at the guitar recital. And it was cool, it was fun. Now, he decided to move on, and then I got a teacher. It was the veteran teacher at the time at the local music store. The guy's name was Mike. He had long gray hair, and he was very much into, what you would consider the dad rock and stuff like that. But the guy was awesome. I mean, he just was genuinely one of the happiest, down-to-earth musicians I've met to this day.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy was just always up for a good time. Really good guy. I need to hunt him down. I need to find him again and try to see if he's still playing, and if not, to just hang out, but to just say, be like, hey, I still do this too.
Yeah.
And so Mike was pretty influential to me because he was the first person to teach me musical theory. And that really expanded and grew me as a musician, because once he taught me musical theory and what the C major scale was and how to use it and how to think about it, I just ran with it. I started to figure out all the scales on planet Earth, which eventually I got skilled enough. I don't know what to say. What's the right word? Seasoned enough to know that, yeah, exactly. Seasoned enough.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. To know that I spent a lot of time working on stuff that was kind of useless.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was really enforcing the musical theory aspect of me. There's really only so many ways that you can slice the pie of music according to musical theory. And I know some people don't really like musical theory. They don't like to use it. They don't want to, it to control or dictate what they write. And I respect that. You know what I'm saying? And when I think of and talk about musical theory, I don't want people to be like, hey, I'm going to judge your music according to it, and that your music needs to be shackled to it, or else you aren't a real musician or something. That's not the case. I just like it. I think that it's good to know, because it's just, at least you have some kind of a unit of measurement. You're not just flying blind here. You've got some kind of, and then at some point in time, if you want to deviate from it, that's fine. I use it sometimes, I don't. Anyways, this isn't a musical theory conversation. Anyways, so Mike, he really, as you can tell, impacted me by teaching me musical theory. Then I quit lessons for a while because I was just angsty teenager and I wanted to do my own thing, and I felt like, yeah, I got this now.
Right.
And for a while I did. I mean, because of homeschooling and pretty much being an only child, I was really good at learning and working by myself. So that really wasn't an issue. So once I learned musical theory and how to build chords and build scales and what the modes meant and everything like that, I just started building stuff and experimenting, and really did that for several years. And then I really started to develop my improv playing. So playing that was just, okay, here's my musical theory knowledge, here's some chords that are being played, but it's to no particular song or anything like that, and then how am I going to solo over it as an instrumentalist? And I started to get really serious about that at one point in time. So I went back to take lessons at the place that I was at before, and Mike had moved on. And there was a guy named Scott, and I didn't have him very long because he was really trying to push a direction that I just didn't really want. He wanted me to be a player really, really, really bad that I didn't really want to be, because I think he saw, I don't know, I could be wrong, okay? And it kind of sounds arrogant for me to say this, but I think he saw in me a level of skill and talent that maybe he didn't have, or he felt like he missed out on. Oh man, if I had my youth, you know. And so he was really trying to like do that thing where you hear dads constantly doing that to their sons or even daughters, where it's like, you're going to try to live that former glory that I skipped out on. And then you give your child no, freedom or life to live on their own. And it was like, he kind of felt like that was what was going on. Like he wanted me to be this jazz instrumentalist that I just really wasn't interested in, even though I was interested in learning jazz, which is one of the reasons, I thought, oh, Scott might work. One of the things he really helped me out with was to be able to solo without hyper focusing on the key of the music, which is something that, it's critical to improving, but what he really showed me was how the jazz guys do it, and that was improving according to the chord and what mode and what the arpeggiation of the chord, just soloing off of that, the mode that fits the chord and the arpeggiation that goes over it. And that was a really cool thing. But I'd have to say that in my life, it was probably 70-30. 30% to my mentors and teachers, the three guys that I mentioned to you that were briefly a part of my life. And then the rest of it was just a lot of hard work on my own. Could it have gone better if I had more teachers or wasn't an angsty teen and wanted more direction in my life? Probably. But at the same time, I don't know. I don't know that if I would trade that experience for anything. So there is my real world mentors, not some other people in some bubble that I've never met.
Right.
We'll talk about that later, like, the superstar inspirations.
Yeah, the people that you tried to emulate.
Yeah, exactly. But those were the real world people that, I had in my life and it got to experience. So let's shift the focus to you. What was it? Was there some early childhood? Was there some high school stuff? Was there some college that happened in college? And who were these people?
So a lot of, obviously my biggest area of growth happened in college, just because, most of my learning early on was self-propelled, and then I didn't really have the opportunity in high school to have art classes and stuff like that. So college was the first time that I literally went to a place, sat down for 3 hours and was like, we're going to talk about how to do this and what you need to do. And so in college, there was a lot of people that imparted certain things that I still to this day have not forgotten. So I have Brigham was a drawing professor that I had, and he was one guy that really got me thinking about how to focus on making something look good when you're close up to it and also when you're far away from it, so that it's not something that you have to get closer to appreciate it. It's like, well, can I appreciate it from both spaces? Thinking about things in that kind of context. He worked with me a lot on that, and so that's something that's always in the back of my head now. Where I also had Barb, who this sounds like she taught me how to cheat the system, but she didn't. She taught me a lot of things, but for some reason the thing that stuck out the most to me, and this works from thinking about creativity from a business standpoint, that is probably why it implemented so hard to me, is because a lot of times when you're doing something creative, from a business standpoint, you're not the one that developed the idea. Someone came to you and they're paying you. They're like, this is my idea and I'm paying you to do this. And so you probably don't like it. You're like, okay, well, I don't like, well, what if we do this? But at the end of the day, it's still their decision. So she actually taught me that a bad idea, visually packaged correctly, can look like a good idea. And so it's all in how you present things. And so even if you have a phenomenal idea, if you present it poorly, people will just be like, well, this is a bad idea. But you can elevate a bad idea to something that looks interesting if you package it properly.
So then we made a YouTube channel.
Well, yeah. But so what's funny is when you initially asked that question, there was one name that popped up in my head specifically because I think he was the person that got me across the threshold of actually beginning to learn. So up into my life, prior to actually having a mentor or somebody who could do what I like to do and was willing to teach me from their pool of experience, I was, like I said, self-taught. So it was just, me drawing, seeing something, reading a book and being like, okay, it says to do it like this kind of thing. I'll try it. Maybe it will work, maybe it won't. But I used to be very perfectionistic. So I would, start working on something, and if it started going in the wrong direction, I'd just throw it out. I had a million things I've never finished. And Sean was his name. He was somebody that I worked with through being involved in volunteering for church stuff, and we were making these structures to like theme. I think it was fuel. So like it was a week. For those of you who don't know, Fuel is a week-long, basically vacation Bible school, but for middle school students. So it's a little bit more punk rock or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. It's a little cooler. But so that's what we were doing.
I mean, they asked me to play guitar for it a lot, so that
we played a lot for it. But yeah, so I was working with him on that, and that was at the time where I really hadn't had anybody kind of impart wisdom onto me in the creative sphere, and he was doing something with me, and then like I had just done it wrong, like and to the point where I had done something wrong, and then to fix it I did another thing slightly more wrong, and it just got out of hand to where like I didn't know what to do, and he's like, well, just throw it away. And he could tell that I was just like, oh my gosh, this is awful, like I have to throw this whole thing away. And he's like, it's not even a big deal, it's like, it just start over, it's fine, just make sure you do this and this or whatever. And I was like, I was really broken up about this, but then he stopped and he was like, oh, I'm gonna tell you a story. And he told me this story, and I'll never forget it. I don't know all the polished details, so some of it, if Sean ever listens to this and he's like, that doesn't sound anything like the story I told you, it's my sincerest apology.
my spirit has still been inspired.
Yeah, you can't take it away. But so yeah, his story was that back when he was in college, he was going for like architecture, and he had to build this like model of a fire station or something like that. And so he was very meticulous about details, and he had spent this time making sure everything was perfect, it was clean, it looked beautiful, all that. And he just put so many hours into it. And so then in many creative fields and stuff like that, you have critique days where you'll present to everybody, this is what I made, this is what I've been doing for the last month, and this is why you haven't seen me. Here it is. And he said that he presented his, and the professor went looking around at everything and then just looked at his, and it's like, do you know what foam core is?
Not really.
It's like poster board. It's basically like a sandwich of like poster board with foam in the middle. So it's a little sturdier, and you can cut it with an X-Acto knife and actually make structure out of it.
All right.
So he had made a little firehouse out of that. And he said that the professor went up looking at everything, and he said he'd put so many hours into this, so many days, been working on this project for so long, just losing sleep over it. And he looked at it, and he just put his fist through it. Boom, destroyed, all in that second.
Wow.
And he was like, I went through all these emotions and everything like that, and he told me, about the ramifications of it, and like talking to the professor, why the professor did it and all that kind of stuff. But the thing that stuck out to me about the story was, he said, the thing I learned that day is that no project is your baby. No project is so like intimately close to you that you can't start over if you have to. And so that, for some reason, I just remember that pushing me over the ledge and becoming a teachable artist, where before it was like I had to do everything perfect, and then if somebody was like, that's wrong, I would just throw it out and be like, fine, I'll never draw that again. But it was like, when he told me that, I was like, oh, there's a flexibility to creativity. There's a flexibility to knowing that every pencil mark that I put down doesn't have to be the final line. Every iteration, every sketch, this is just like ideas on paper, and it comes through over time. And if I get to the end of it and it's garbage, or I did something wrong, I should be able to just throw it out without, damaging my psyche. And so for some reason, out of all the things I've learned from all the wonderful professors and mentors that I've had, that was the most pivotal, I think, because it really transitioned me from being like a self-taught perfectionist kind of artist to being an actual creative person that was able to grow and adapt to the environment. And I feel like that lesson was invaluable. I don't even know, and I feel bad, I don't think I've ever reached back out to him and told him like that little story like changed my perspective on creativity. Maybe I'll have to do that.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
I like that. And well, thanks for sharing that with us. Really appreciate that. Good stories. So there you go. There's us talking a little bit about, teachers and mentors that have affected us as artists. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. There's gonna be some more Chatcasts. Stay tuned.